I started Edison Motors because I wanted to improve the trucking industry. And the way I saw to do that was build a better truck. I was tired of the way that we were seeing trucks go, the lack of right to repair, all those things. We've done enough videos on that. Today I want to talk about something else that I've held it in long enough, but it's time to talk about it. And that is the abuse of the temporary foreign workers and student work permit and the abuse of these people in the trucking industry. Now, to preference this, I don't want to see a bunch of racist comments. The point of this video is to not be racist. It's to talk about the abuse that is happening to these drivers. And let's be honest, these drivers are coming from countries where they want a better life for their family. They're coming to Canada because they want to see that improvement, and I don't hold that against anybody. Lord knows if it was my family and I had a chance to give them a better life, I would take it. But these drivers are coming over here, they're being treated like shit, and they're being abused. It's not good for us, it's not good for the wage industry for Canadian truckers, it's not good for the public safety, and all it serves is to make the trucking company owner. That's who we need to be starting holding accountable. The government that's allowing this abuse to happen, and the trucking companies exploiting this system. Let's have a look at what's happening to these foreign drivers. So a lot of them are coming in under either student work permits and then being forced to drive a truck, or they're coming in under a temporary foreign worker permit. And what happens is basically a company does a labor market impact assessment, which says that, hey, is there a shortage of labor in that market? If there's a shortage of labor that company can hire, they're going to apply to hire a temporary foreign worker overseas, which is what they do. But they make up BS reports, or they'll post a job ad that says, because trucking is not hourly rate. That needs to be understood, is that you don't have to pay an hourly rate. So you can post a job that's saying, hey, we're gonna pay 30 cents per mile, which works out to like $15 an hour if you make maximum hours and drive as fast as you possibly can. So you can take somebody like this, you can force them into a position like that, and they'll post a job that nobody wants to work at because nobody is willing to drive one of these trucks away from their family for weeks and weeks at a time for $15 an hour. A Canadian will just go to work at McDonald's, but they'll post that and they'll say that there is a driver shortage. There is not a driver shortage. There is not a shortage of truckers. What there is a shortage of pay to incentivize people to go do trucking. If you paid 50, 60 bucks an hour for being away from your home like you do other camp jobs, there would be no shortage of truckers. No, it's a trucking company because they want to pay the absolute lowest rate they can. So they say, hey, we posted an ad for crappy wages. Now we can't find anybody, so we need to go to a different country where the wages and standard of living is lower, and we'll incentivize them. This is where the abuse starts happening. They promise them a better life. You're going to move to Canada. It's going to be fantastic. You're going to make a huge amount of money. You're going to make $15 an hour, which sounds like amazing money where they're from, until they find out the cost of living in Canada is so high. And then they're entering into a temporary foreign worker program where they are forced to work for one specific company. Your employment is tied to one company, which means that if you quit your job, you have to leave the country. Your work permit cannot go anywhere else. And now you look at the abuse that could happen. You're coming over to a strange country. A lot of them are asked to pay for their flights, pay for their visas. Some of them I've heard are being asked to pay rent. They're in the sleeper, the back of the truck, and they said you need to pay rent for being in the back of the truck while driving, to the point where they make almost $0. And if you complain, you got to leave the country. The abuse that's going on in the trucking schools that are largely supplying drivers to these foreign workers, they run them through a BS program that is not up to the training standards. I highly recommend checking out the CBC Marketplace video on that. And that's causing a safety issue, because I guarantee you that if a trucking company wants to hire literal slave labor and force them to drive, they're not spending the money to do the proper training. You're hearing about drivers heading out onto the highway with 1 week of training. Now guess what? You've got 140,000 pounds, take it through the mountain. Oh, you're from a country that doesn't have snow? I don't care. You drive that truck in a snowstorm or you're fired. We've heard that before. That load needs to get there. You're driving whether you're comfortable or not, or you're fired. No trucking company should ever have the power to say that if you don't do this, if you're not comfortable doing what we tell you to do, we'll deport you. That needs to end immediately. Trucking is a serious career. There is major safety implications that involve with that. guys that are not familiar with driving in the snow, guys that are not familiar with the rules and roads of Canada, and it takes time, because I will tell you straight up, I was not a good truck driver my first year in the wintertime. My first year, I was nervous in the snow. I had 140,000 pounds on me, and I was going down these hills and sliding, and and this is somebody, I grew up in Canada. My grandpa was a truck driver. My uncles are truck drivers. My dad drove truck. I was familiar with trucks. It still took me a while to get into it and learn it. You don't have time with that in just 2 years. And if you think about it, these guys are being treated like slaves. They're being held into account for 2 years in the back of a truck like a prison cell. And then, of course, they're not going to stick in the industry. They're going to leave the industry, or they're going to go to find a job that gives them a little bit more freedom once they get that more permanent residency. Well, that means that you're caught in this vicious cycle of always having new drivers, always that 2 years. We need to be able to stand together and end temporary foreign workers. It's not fair on the workers coming to give their family a better life. It's not fair on the Canadian truckers whose wages they're suppressing. It's causing safety issues on the highways, all for the sake of making trucking companies extra money. That's bullshit, guys. That's it. You don't need it. Pay drivers a better wage. Make sure that Canadians, or if you do bring in foreign workers, because there is a legitimate wing, make sure that they're paid a proper wage that a Canadian would. Because if they are temporary foreign workers, they should be coming over here, able to make some money, send some money back home. They shouldn't be held as slaves. It's horse. And why is the government allowing this abuse? It's just, I had enough. We needed to say something.